Hi, Dick.
Hello.
How are things over there in your neck of the woods with all the rain that you've had?
Oh, a little bit of flooding here and there.
Yeah, we hear about it over here in the Eastern Washington.
Yeah, some of the levees have been just barely holding, or they had to patch them up. And the biggest thing is the shutdown of the Stevens Pass Highway for several weeks. It looks like.
Oh, really? That I didn't hear. Oh my gosh.
There was Washington Department of Transportation had a photographer up there on that, and I think it's all the way from Index to Leavenworth. It's closed now. And
Oh,
he had about almost a dozen of pictures of the damage to that road,
oh,
and they were just huge washouts.
okay. I
And
did. Yeah, that'd be Route 2, and I did see those. I
yeah,
forgot that.
that's Route 2, and they've got a number of like there was one spot they were looking down from above, and for somewhere maybe 200, 300 yards or more, half the road was washed out.
Uh,
Maybe one narrow lane left, and uh, and this was probably it looked like it was maybe 30 feet above the river. And the river was raging, so it wasn't. It was built. The road was built way above the river, but the river was still deep, digging into the bank below
yeah.
in several spots. And there was one photograph of part of the Highway 2 where there was trees on both sides going way up. Yet you were looking right at a spot where the river had been flowing not long before. It had been flowing right down the roadway, right there on
Gee,
Highway 2. The highway had become the riverbed because you could see all the gravel and the damage and things like that. It's amazing.
well, let's see. I wonder whether Mr. Trump will give us any money to help defer those costs of repair.
Well, so far Trump hasn't raised a finger about it. So as long as his uh, none of his right-wing supporters start attacking Washington State, if his attention is diverted elsewhere, he'll let FEMA do its job.
Yeah, I just thought last night I finally received my No King's house flag, and I put it up last night in the dark.
Oh,
So we'll see whether it's got four American flags, two on each side, No Kings with a crown with a slash through it, and No Kings since 1776.
right, yeah, that's pretty good, right?
And the funny part about it is that when I went to buy it, the only place I could really find it was Amazon, and the American-made flags were about, I don't know, over $50, but this one made in China was only about $25 with $10 shipping, so it came from
Right.
China, ironically.
Well, yeah, I didn't know you could get that one, but yeah.
Yeah,
But it's just it's a strange turnaround when we can become the patriots and celebrate the flag as representing constitutionality instead of other people. Like when I was in the Vietnam War era, the flag meant militarism, it meant war.
yes. Well, I'll be interested. The management here at Rockwood allows, all manner of political signs. And at one point, someone complained about so many Democrat signs or something like that. And management said, we have no prohibitions on signs as long as they're not obscene or pornographic. And
Right.
there is this thing called freedom of speech. So
Right,
pretty
right,
cool. I thought it's cool.
right, right.
Hey, it's we're waiting to see who shows up because Cindy and I have had several discussions. She is quite ill at this time and can't attend.
Mm,
And of course, I sent the information in the text to everybody else. I have no reason to believe Nancy won't be here, although I couldn't reach Nancy. Doug Deaton said he'd be here. And I didn't hear from Justin, but I did send the stuff to him. So we'll wait. Oh, there is Nancy. So the person in charge is here.
mhm.
So we're waiting for, oh, then we got Justin. So you have a quorum, Nancy. Doug Deaton said he would be here. He did send me a text saying he had the right time zone, and so he'll be here shortly.
And then unmute yourself, Nancy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And did you talk with Cindy? Did you
I
have?
did.
Okay, and I talked with her a couple of times, so I can fill in a couple of things you may not have gotten to.
Okay. There's Doug, so we
Hello,
have
folks.
There he is, Doug.
Hey, Dick. Justin.
at 4:01. I'll call this meeting to order then. As I said, Cindy is home. She has had tons of trouble with her eyes and she's currently in bed with an eye infection. So she asked me to take over about 3 minutes ago. So I'd like to approve this agenda unless there are any other things that need to be added to it.
One small thing, if we have time, we usually have comments at the bottom from members. So I'd suggest adding that. Other than that, I'm good.
Goodbye, me.
Okay. So I hope you all had a chance to read the minutes. Did you see any changes that needed to be made?
Nope.
Nope.
Approved as written?
Yep.
Mhm.
Set the next board meeting, and of course, I don't have my calendar handy.
January 21 and January 28.
Thank you. January 21, we need a floating board member. Is there anybody who is available and hasn't served recently?
Well,
I'm available. I'm pretty sure. I need to check real quick.
I can be back up if Justin cannot.
Iluba. I'll give him a second to check his agenda,
Yeah.
or I should say his calendar.
I'm available.
Okay, so Justin, and if anything comes up, then Luba said she could step in.
Okay.
And the meeting is on the 28th?
Correct, at 4 p.m. A minister's report today is Todd's wedding anniversary, so he said he would not be here. And as you can see, Cindy is not here. So she will be sending out anything that she was responsible for via email within the next few days when she's able to see again. Luba Ops team, and I see you're on the phone, so I'm going to move on and come back to you, Luba, if that's okay. Oh, move on from Luba. Dick, did you get anything from Rebecca with regard to the treasurer's report? I know they did have a finance team. And Cindy said she would take, report because she was at that meeting, but then now she's not here.
Yeah, she was there and I was there too. And let's see, Rebecca said that the funds raised so far this fiscal year have been around $10,000.
Nice.
And that there have been a number of fundraising efforts that are ongoing. But I said, well, we need to at least double that, preferably triple that. And she was less sure about that, but seemed to think that she thought it was going okay anyway. But as far as I know, there weren't too many. I think she said there might be some kind of auction again.
Right now, there is a art auction going on.
Yeah, she said. I think she said something about another, maybe a live auction or something. They were thinking about later. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But the problem is you need some. You can't just be raising a few $100s here and there. You got to raise more like $1,000 to $2,000 per event, and have at least one every month, preferably $2,000 in order to get to in there $10,000.
Mhm.
Like that. I don't know if we're going to make that, but at least it's just not going backwards. But it certainly it could be. But it does need to go more forwards. But I guess she feels more comfortable uh, because Todd Eckloff's new contract sort of, I guess, basically makes permanent his salary cut. You know, and so that makes it look better, but not but only because we can't afford it. You see. Uh, and the other thing that came up quite a bit was uh, the fund for facilities, and if there are any improvements to facilities that need to be done, and and we- and Rebecca was saying, well, if there's the way it's been working, if there's any extra at the end of the year, it goes any budget surplus, it goes into the facilities account. I can't remember what the name of that is right now.
Okay.
But but basically, uh, even though there is a long range, I guess, facilities plan, in practice, they have to do fundraising for any major facilities issue that comes along. There's not enough in there right now in their fund to do very much. So if you need to put a new roof on, that's going to require a special fundraising effort just for that, a capital fund drive. So it's not ideal, but at least it's something.
Tom, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, because I did ask Cindy, I had a couple of conversations with her actually before you and she talked, and she said she'd send out her summary from her notes of that finance committee meeting. So that would go on. And the other thing that kind of came up that I could shed a little bit of light on, I'm a little bit involved, but this art sale that's going on, the residual is there are postings, some items are for sale and some are in silent auction mode. And I've been helping the best I can with Dan Egret, Gene Larson, and Susan Tyler Babkirk to actually market some of the more valuable and unsold at the end of the auction, unsold items by marketing directly through auction houses or dealers, because some of them are worth hundreds of dollars, if not even into $1,000 or $2,000. So that is going on, but there's nothing definitive at this point because the auction's still going on.
Dan, I can throw in that Dan told me yesterday that so far it's brought in around $5,000.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And
And I'm sure we'll have more than when Cindy sends out her notes. And I will also put in a request to Rebecca to ask for, once again, the exact amounts that each of the different fundraisers have raised. So Luba, we're going to come back to you now and the ops team report.
Okay. I'm sorry. That was emergency of the neighbor who who locked herself, and I am the only one that have a key.
No problem.
But this is not her. Just it will go to the recording. December operations team meeting started, and I was late because my medical appointment was late. That is why I'm sorry to say that I missed the important part of welcoming a new member of the team, Tom Bratebo, or how do you pronounce his name? Bratebo? Bratebo.
Yes, Bradable.
Bratebo. Yeah. In her business report, Rebecca restarted complications of keeping QuickBooks Online up to date. It was a lengthy process because the old format kept popping out. Starting January 1st, payroll will be switched back to the new QuickBooks, which proves to be cheaper. Besides, all the finances will be in one place. This month, the finance team will meet for the first time, or already met by now, with Darl. And the biggest problem for the team is to have a person who understands our church's finances. That person may or may not be necessary a CPA. As Rebecca stated, a good treasurer's quarterly financial report may qualify for an audit. The last audit was done by a church member in 2019. Currently, the operation manager has to do that. Our recent fundraising event, or events, I would say, were quite successful with art sale, bringing, as you updated the numbers, because my numbers at that time came from Rebecca's reporting, and that was $950. The cookie sale about $100, and the poetry book sale $105. And Rebecca mentioned the numbers may change slightly later, which is true. Yeah. The church's shed, unfortunately, was broken into again. And it happened shortly after Robert fixed it. The shed will be boarded for the winter, and a more secure latch will be installed. Besides, evidently, the door will need some repairs too. The search for a new refrigerator will begin in January. Julianne and Rebecca will look for a commercial refrigerator in the range of $2,400. And they will take into consideration future possibility, of course, to rent the kitchen, as well as to be able to save the money on potential repairs. They will be going through bigger places like Home Depot, for example. The upcoming holiday services will include Yuletide concert on the 23rd, suggested by fundraiser team, which will be followed by cosmic event on the 24th, and the Requiem service in January next year. So this is the report. And the next me on the item is to report to you that I did forward to Rebecca the approved October Board of Trustee meeting. That's it.
I have a question on two items there.
Yeah?
You mentioned a change in the accounting software. Could you repeat that part again?
Okay. The switching to the QuickBooks Online was in progress when the payrolls were done not on QuickBooks.
Okay.
That is why, well, the suggestion was made, and they tried and they compared and decided that in January, everything, payrolls and everything else, will be on the new QuickBooks.
On the new QuickBooks.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that was good. You also mentioned something about a key at the very beginning of your report.
About what?
A key. A key to get in the door?
Oh, yes, yes. I understand that it was broken into its the key or whatever, the lock was not a very heavy duty one. Evidently, because of that, there will be the change of the latch and the better kind of a lock with a key.
Okay. That's on the front door.
I don't know. It's about the shed.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the shed, okay.
Yeah, I can clarify that. I saw it just the other day when I was there. There are three big solid 2x4s bolted from the frame across the door, so the door cannot be opened unless someone is clever enough to remove these three big 2x4 boards across the door. And then the I don't know, the lock looked like it was locked, but it looked like the old lock, but it may not yet have been replaced.
Doug?
And yeah, one other item. Luba, would you put your remarks in writing and forward them to us so we have your report as part of our board and for the minutes, please?
Yeah, I can
About
make a comment.
about the boards.
No, about your ops team.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can make some comments too, because
just a
Rebecca,
minute, Dick. So
okay.
Luba, I didn't get the ops team report either, so would you forward that to us and make sure that it goes to Marilyn so that it's a part of the minutes, okay?
Okay, well, yes, sure. So I understand that I will forward it to you because it was forwarded to Marilyn and as well as Cindy, but Cindy is not here. So do you want me to forward to everybody at once, not just to the two people?
Why don't you send it to me because I think Cindy is going to be out of business for a little bit with her eyes. If you'll forward it to me, I'll get it out to all the board members and get it to Marilyn.
Okay.
Okay.
So, okay, and what were the requests to correct something in this operations team or the questions or what? I didn't get it.
No.
Yeah, I have a comment to add to
Okay.
it.
Just a minute. Doug has had his hand up for some time. Doug?
Yeah, just question for Luba, is this or is this not your birthday?
It is.
Oh, well,
Happy birthday, Luba.
And actually, it's my birthday too.
Whoa!
Really?
Happy
Birthday,
birthday,
Dick?
Dick.
All right, this is going to be unusual, but this is also my birthday.
No way!
No,
Happy
really?
birthday,
Yeah,
Justin.
Yep,
Seriously?
79 today.
The only problem is I'm too old now.
Oh, my goodness. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a coincidence.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday to you. Happy
Everybody.
birthday, dear Luba, Dick, and
Luba, Dick, Justin.
Justin. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday.
to
To
you.
you.
To be on the serious note, what do I have to do with that December operations team meeting that I'm reporting to you?
You are sending it to me,
That's it? Okay.
and I'll forward it on to Marilyn then.
Okay, okay. Well, the
And I'll
comments
send it out.
yeah. Okay,
to-
the comments and the questions I have answered. Did I relate everything understandably enough?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, I'm upset. There was a limb more than 7 feet long, thicker than 2 inches, that flew over the roof and landed in the backyard. And the early morning, the winds, the gusts were such that it sounded as if there was a train with a high speed was zooming
Wow.
by my house.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was not terrifying, but it was not pleasant.
Right.
No.
Sorry for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, Dick, you wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, well, Rebecca talked about many of these things like the QuickBooks at the Finance Committee meeting quite a bit. And I think that she said they'd had quite a bit of trouble getting the QuickBooks to work properly during the last year. She said a lot of it was because there were some older financial records that no one knew much about that QuickBooks discovered, and there were discrepancies from the old accounting and the new accounting. But she said that that's all been taken care of. And then she
Yes.
said that because of that they'd had this separate piece of software that did the payroll pretty well until now.
Mhm.
But now that the QuickBooks is working fine, QuickBooks has the same capability, so that's why they're switching to there because it's working fine, and they don't need the old one anymore.
Okay.
So that's one thing. The other thing is about the audit. She said that she thought there was a lot less need for an audit today than in the years, maybe a decade ago or so, because she says with QuickBooks communicates with the bank. That means the church bank, and so QuickBooks knows immediately whatever happens in the bank, and the bank knows. All the accounts are automatically updated, and so if there were anything that came into the bank that was unusual, it would be seen in the QuickBooks very quickly, and vice versa. So she thinks because of that very close coordination and the fact that um, if there was any unusual financial transaction, it would pop up real quickly because the church doesn't have very unusual transactions. I mean, most things are pretty regular, and anything would pop up real quickly. But I think what's his name? Vander Linden?
Yeah.
Darrell.
Darrell.
Darrell Vanderley. He was there, and he wanted at the finance committee, and he wanted to come in to the office and actually look at some transactions and ask things. So Rebecca said, "Yeah, fine, pick any hour and come in," and she would be there, and they could go through anything, and he could ask anything he wanted to, and she would explain what's going on. And that might be more if you're going through like the financial report, if there's some item that he's not quite sure about, she could explain it right on the spot. And that's one thing I've not been able to do, not being there in practice.
Right.
And so I understand financial reports generally, but not. At first, there were a few line items that didn't make a lot of sense. But it wasn't easy to sort of get a hold of her and get everything explained like it is when you're right in the spots right there. So he's going to be doing that apparently. He says sort of an audit, but my impression is it's probably more just to to get to know the system and because any new set of books is going to have some items that even an accountant would have to become familiar with. You see, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like that. So it looks like that's going along okay right there. Yeah.
Thanks, Dick.
Mm-hmm.
Tom?
Yeah, and just that comment, Dick, down below, we have an item under not to be forgotten, treasurer. We might discuss
Okay.
a possible role
Mm-hmm.
when we get to that point.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, and then just look for a written report from Cindy as well later on. Maybe.
Yeah, and I think I told the finance committee that report that I didn't intend to continue as treasurer of the church. So I think it does need someone who could be there on the spot and which I can't really be. So,
Okay, thank you, Dick. All right. Usher training, Tom?
Very briefly, yesterday we held usher training. There was about 2/3 of the team was there. Others weren't able to make it. It was about an hour. We finalized the detailed instructions, which I had in draft form. Lots of good comments were made that I added. And I think we're good to go. We've had 2 added ushers in the last month, so our team is expanding a little bit. We've slimmed the ranks out for people that haven't participated in the last year. We could always use 1 or 2 more persons, but right now we're as good as we've been for a while, and things are running pretty smooth.
Next item was the finance team, and we'll hear from Cindy in written form later. The op is what they call it. It's one parish, one prisoner. That is what the service is about this Sunday. Candace will be joining us via Zoom, so hopefully that goes well. And there is an informational meeting following the potluck today for people who might be interested in joining that team. Right now, the three folks who are committed to being a part of that are Marina Ladich, Barb Stubing, and Susan Tyler Babkirk.
And
So that's on
that's
its way.
kind of a 7-member team you're looking for?
7 to 9.
7 to 9, okay.
So if you have questions about that program, I recommend you tune in to the service.
Okay, can I comment then on the Americans United?
Yes.
Okay, Americans United, the Social Justice Coordinating Council, has agreed to urge the church to have at least 6 publications in successive Suns, starting hopefully in January, that would highlight the Americans United for the separation of church and state, to get a little introductory paragraph from them. And then there would be one article from one of their past editions of their magazine that would start and then be continued by a link, and it would be either dealing with the threat posed by Christian nationalism, democracy in general, the separation of church and state, and the freedom of religion. Those would be the 3 topics that would be focused on. And this is in cooperation with Americans United. They approved the introductory paragraph, and I'm in touch with the editor of the magazine, and he's going to help me create the links we need to put articles in the Sun.
Thanks, Tom. Dick, question?
I just remembered another item from the Finance Team Committee report that's important, I think, and that was that there was an announcement that the current endowment now is well over $1 million.
Let's celebrate.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And so I guess that's something was a goal of Todd's from a number of years back. And he's been working on that successfully. And of course, part of the reason for that was that he wants a strong enough endowment that a significant part of the operating budget can come out of the endowment from the profits, the proceeds, the interest basically that the endowment is earning. And so that has been increasing some in recent years, and she said they'll be looking to see if they can get more out of it. But I'd like to point out that depends a lot on the stock market, and it's been going up a lot the last couple of year or so because of AI. It could go down too. I mean, after the last tech boom, there was a big correction, they call it, crash basically. They're not a bad crash, but still, these things tend to go up rather rapidly, sometimes drop rapidly too.
Right.
And so we can't really rely on that. I think the UUA has been relying on that too, because their membership has been dropping and things like that. But their endowment is doing quite well right at the moment.
Thank you, Dick. All right. Tom, I'm going to have you go lead us through the second reading and adoption
Okay.
from the policies and procedures, please.
Okay. I sent you just in the last hour and a half a version 1.1. There was a comment about when we wrote a small paragraph to add to the policy and procedures manual about the operations team keeping the board updated on when we need to appoint people and when terms have expired. There was no suggested time frame prior to that actually happening. So I added words, so it's the same wording except with an addition of a time frame. So what we'd be doing would be adding to section 2.1 of the operations team's overall responsibility, so that it would read, without going into the first 3, it would read: the operations team shall not fail to speak as one voice to all parties to whom the team is responsible or over whom it has authority. Accordingly, the operations team shall not, and this is the new language we would add as sub D to 2.1, shall not fail to notify the president of the board of trustees, comma, no less than 90 days before expiration, comma, of team/committees Sub 1, vacancies and or sub 2, expiring terms needing reappointments that require action of the board to maintain such board appointees to these committees / teams as per the bylaws, because the bylaws state in a number of places that the board appoints people. So that is essentially the same version we read back in, let's see, introduced in October. And then we didn't do it in November because we were pretty busy. So I would move that this addition be added as sub D under 2.1, unity of voice underneath operations team in our governance document known as policy and procedures.
Any discussion?
Oh, we need a second.
Second.
Discussion?
Yep.
Okay. So we have a second. Everyone in favor? Raise your hand. Okay. So now, Tom, since you have the experience and I don't, does this get sent on, well, of course, to the minutes, but to Rebecca directly as head of ops?
Yeah, what I will do is I will send this to, in fact, I did already send it to Marilyn. So it'll be attached to the minutes and I'll communicate, make sure that happens. And then I'll forward, since Luba's the secretary that forwards stuff to Rebecca, this will be forwarded. I'll send you that to make sure, Luba, so you and I communicate.
Yes.
And then you would get that to Rebecca to be added to the official policy and procedures manual that's on our website and should be then forwarded back out to all of us. So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Emergency Procedures Manual, Tom, once again, that's something that you've been working on. Would you take us through that?
Well, the emergency I don't know where we go with this. The emergency procedures manual was written pre-COVID when we had a team that actually was our security team, and we had people outdoors walking around with two-way radios to report indoors to ushers who had the coordinating two-way radios to be alarmed or made aware of anything suspicious outside. So all I can say is that manual is out of date, and probably the evacuation instructions with respect to a hostile intruder or maybe even a fire in the building should be updated. And I talked with Todd as to how to instruct the ushers about what to do, and he and I worked out a section on security and evacuation and hostile intruders, and that's what we went over the new usher team with for instructions. So we've got kind of a pasted haphazard approach, and that's the best I could do. But we don't have a updated emergency procedures manual, and I don't know how concerned the board wants to be about asking the ops team to update that or forming a committee to try to update it so it's appropriate to today's stuff.
From 10 feet away, you can't tell.
No.
No, perfect. I love it.
So,
No pain whatsoever.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. And if you
Justin, could you mute?
feel like the site has
Justin, could you move out of the room, please?
started losing some funky
He
stuff.
I don't
can't
think he
hear.
can hear us.
Yeah.
So who wrote the first
No, I assume
emergency
it's-
manual?
it's in good shape.
I don't know. Can you mute Justin? Anybody? Can anybody mute him?
No.
Okay. I don't know who wrote it. My suspicion is that security team at that time wrote that manual. There's a copy of it in the usher's statement. See, Sue may have some information on that.
Sue?
Phyllis there worked heavily in that security position. And she is no longer with our church that I know of, but she had a team, a safety team. And so I imagine she was in on writing that.
Justin, were you on the security team?
Yes,
Kelly?
yes, yes. Phyllis there and myself were both on it, and a couple of fellows who are more professional, but they're not with they're not with us anymore.
Yeah. So you and Phyllis wrote the manual that we are now,
I don't recall who wrote it.
okay.
We did do things like outside patrols. One thing I think that was overlooked was other procedures, like what if someone has a heart attack? What if someone throws up all over the place? What if there's things which are not armed intrusions, but routine medical things, like someone has a stroke in the middle of the floor in the middle of a service? Those are things, in my opinion, which are overlooked.
Would you, Justin, would you be able to look at the existing manual and give the board some idea about how much revision it might need to
Yeah, I'd
be?
be happy to do that. I'm sorry I got a call. I just had an operation on my nose, and I got a call right, so I missed the last minute before before I step back in. I'd be happy to take a look at it. But I need to know where that manual is and how I can get it.
From the ushers little cubby. Tom can get it to you on Sunday if you're at church.
Yeah, yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
happy to comment on that. I just have a lot of opinions on that because of my prior service. But
Okay.
yeah, I'll be happy to review it.
And then maybe we could send that on to Rebecca for the ops team to have word on it as well.
I will ask the rest of you to think about things besides the armed intrusion and
Oh, yeah.
things like routine, like a
Mhm.
stroke or other such things that could occur in the middle of a church service.
Right.
And we did discuss kind of that sort of, a little bit of that sort of thing with the usher training, and we did have an instance in which someone collapsed and we had to call 911 and we had a wheelchair. So I pointed out where the medical kit was and the wheelchair and the walker. So we dealt a little bit with it, but we certainly need something updated, a little more current.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to take that on.
So Justin will take a look at that. Okay, let's take a look at and revisit the SWAT process. Sorry, I just took a bite of candy. Shame on me. So the one thing that we really haven't done yet is take a deeper look into the opportunities. So one of the things that I added on my own when I was typing up the notes from weaknesses is the lack of publicity money that we have. Because one of the things that could have really helped with the sale, the arts show, which was a First Friday event, would have been if we had money to put an article in the Inlander and in the newspaper. You know, instead we are always searching for a free way to do it. And that doesn't bring in the outside money that we were hoping we could bring in. So if you have your, see, Cindy was going to handle all of this, so I wasn't worried about it. If you have your notes by any chance, to take a look at and see if there are other opportunities that we might want to take advantage of, other weaknesses that we've seen. So maybe one of those is, we do have no emergency plan written in there. Or if, yeah, Dick.
Yeah, that's something that Rebecca talked about at the finance team committee meeting, and in terms of publicity, like for events and whatever.
Mhm.
And she thought that sort of general purpose publicities, let's say advertising at a radio station, had not been effective at all. she thought that things that had been effective were like very carefully targeted, like sponsorships of certain events where we might have a presence and be participating, and there be maybe people there that might be closet UUs or potential UUs, or like in this art case, if I think she would support funding very specific, very targeted kinds of publicity, not so general purpose. And who are the people that might actually buy things at the auction? How do you publicize to them? That's the kind of thing she was talking about.
Dan, I'm going to ask you, or Jean, either one of you, what kind of publicity was done that you know about? Dan?
Well, we had different parts of the team, the aesthetics team, assigned to different things. And Lynn Diddens essentially was going to handle the advertising. As it turned out, she's pretty busy with her real estate. As it turned out, Susan Tyler Babcock did that. But we did not have much in there, as it turned out when we were all done. I did not see anybody coming in from outside on other churches or other venues as far as different galleries around the city. I don't remember anybody coming in there, so we weren't very effective. You're right. The thing is that so far we've made almost $5,000 on that show, and we have more to make. And Tom and I are working, and along with Gene, on taking some of the more expensive items and selling them out of state and so on. We're working on that, so I won't get into that. But we need to be able to take some of the money from this show or other shows, like this $5,000, and spend a little of it on just what you're talking about, which is advertising ourselves. And so I think that's something as we go down the road that we will make sure that a portion of any gains that we make on these kind of shows will go into helping sell the particular show.
Justin, can you mute yourself before you take your call? Justin, can you mute yourself?
Oh. Oh, hi, Craig. Let me call you back.
So that's about all I had to say. Could Jane, you want to say something? You're muted, Jane.
Okay, we made a big attempt to get out some advertising. Both Lynn Diddens and Susan Tyler Babcock contacted the newspaper and the radio station and the Inlander, and also the First Friday people. And it just turned out that they did most of the advertising on their websites instead of putting things into the actual newspaper. So we were, really surprised that we didn't get anything in the newspaper or the Inlander. So now we know that perhaps we can do a better job of contacting people.
Thank you. Okay. Tom?
Well, I'm kind of a big picture person. My career has been planning involving long range planning. The SWOT exercise is really part of the strategic plan update. That's the whole purpose. And it is an element and an aspect, but as far as what's in a strategic plan that is used for budgeting purposes, planning capital improvements and that sort of thing, it's like a cloud above all the details down on Earth. So one of the things I think we should talk about here is how do we end up with some kind of a strategic plan similar to the last one that was done, 2017 update, that incorporates these various thoughts that came out of this SWOT process. And one of the things that comes to mind is that somebody, either a small group of us, two of us, should sit down with the old strategic plan. And I know that you, Nancy, and I have done some of this. Strike out what we've accomplished, strike out what's no longer relevant, and then start with what's possibly relevant and add to it using information from this SWOT process that we went through. So try to think big picture, folks, here. How are we going to end up with 3 or 4 months from now a strategic plan that we have not had since 2017? And even that was an update of an older, more detailed plan. That's what I think we ought to be discussing. In my
Before we do, Sue, did you have a comment to make?
Oh, yes. On this, Nancy, I found where you were advertising on Facebook numerous things, not just this. Over months, we've done things. And I think that is a highly visible place to, and I forget what site, were you on the church side or what?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Facebook was handy for me and I appreciated that. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right. Yes, Dan.
Okay. I just want to go add a little bit to what Tom said. As most of you know, I've been a real advocate of the strategic plan, and the original one, Todd and I kind of initiated that way back when. And the thing that's so important about doing that is that you get a list of priorities, and so you know what you need to concentrate on and what you don't need to concentrate on. And as to how to do it, I might suggest that you get set up and list all the teams that you have, the active ones, and then ask those teams for team reports on what they need and what they see. If you just poll the congregation for what's needed from those various teams, you're not going to get the kind of detail that you want. But if the teams that are working on things, they know what they're doing, what they need, and that report can come back and really helpful to the board to further define what should be in that strategic plan. Just my comments. Yeah.
Sue?
I think that is a very good place to start, but I do not think eliminating feedback from the congregation. I think that should be included also. And that's all I want to say, but I do think that's important.
That is true. And there was originally there were several things. So the detail came from the teams, but there was what do you call it? There was a request from the whole congregation for items that they felt that were important. So yes, those two things, and I should have mentioned that.
Yes. So I served on the 2017 Strategic Plan Committee, and what was done is a request was sent out to the teams, and then there were probably 4 different opportunities for the congregation to share their thoughts, either via an email to a certain person on the board or the team. And then we met in person. And do you remember putting dots on things that were important and that kind of thing at a Saturday? I think it was a Saturday all-day kind of event with lunch served. So there was input from teams, there was input from the congregation, those members who were interested as well. Dick?
Yeah, a few days ago there was a NAUA program on the nuns. The nuns being NONES, the people out there in the public who when you ask them their religion, they list none. And many of those could be potential UUs. And it turns out that there's been a dramatic increase, including in Washington State, over the last couple of decades, and the percentage of nuns in the United States. And even many of the evangelical churches are hurting now, not just mainline churches, and even mega churches. And so the traditional churches aren't attracting a lot of new people, probably because they're so old-fashioned. And eventually, more and more people get educated enough that it doesn't make any sense to do this. But it's still not clear how to attract the nuns, even though, if you look at all the numbers and everything else too, one of the things that the nuns really need and lack is, strong social networks and friends. Some don't even have any friends. It's all been taken over by the social media and whatnot. And so I guess we're in a kind of transition where it's really there's a huge opportunity, but no one's quite sure how to take advantage of it. But the point is, I guess if you want to bring people in, you need strong social connections, but you can get strong social connections in all places. So it has to be in a context where people feel spiritually welcome and where they can search openly. And like some churches are requiring their minister to greet everyone who comes in the door, things like that. But there's also the spiritual aspect, and it seems like I think part of the strategic plan to explore different ideas and try different things, because this program didn't come up with any formula. We're in the sort of the middle of a new era here.
Thank you, Dick. One of the opportunities that is in the minutes from our SWAT meeting is events that promote our church through our guest speakers, through the Spokane Alliance. For instance, Dr. Joan Brown's talk, she brought in about 170 members into the church, and not members, pardon me, people into the church. And then there was an additional 100 or something like that on Zoom. And she spoke about Christian nationalism and the dangers, and the parking lot was full. So one of the things that we felt, those of us that were there in person, that was an opportunity is for us to host more events like that for free and bring people in who especially are of a like mindset, if you will, because they could come back for a Sunday service. So
Sounds good.
Yeah, they can come back, and sometimes they don't feel very welcome, as Marilyn Johnson mentioned, as a drawback. Like the person in front, Diane, will greet them, will smile, will talk to them, and then the service is over and they are left alone, with the exception when Tom would come to this or that person and start a conversation. Last Sunday, I noticed this woman and started talking to her, and we had very nice conversation with her. And actually, she did not know that she just had this name tag, but didn't fill out the form. So I took her, showed the form, she wrote it down, and I asked many questions, and she told me interesting facts about herself. Approximately the same age as I am, grandma, moved here for the sake of being closer to her grandson, who is a student in what university? I forgot. In Pullman, what university?
Washington.
So, anyways, from the East, moved here for the sake of your grandson. I was so impressed. So sometimes follow up on the people who come, and keep contacts with them.
there is someone in the office who does send out, I don't know if it's a postcard or if they make a phone call for those people that do fill out that paperwork, they do reach out to them. But what you're talking about is having people who are part of a membership team that's their job. That's what they do.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's the, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sue?
Is there someone currently following up on that? When I worked in the office, I did do that. And I would leave them often a message because they wouldn't be home, telling them that I've made up a temporary name tag for it where they could find him, and it was welcoming, and there would be a letter signed by Todd. But I don't know that Rebecca has that help now, that's going on.
Well, I
Mm.
know Julianne Morris,
Is she?
well, she's in the office, and that's worth reaching out to Rebecca and asking her, unless someone knows one way or the other.
Because I do think that's very important. I know, if you remember Noreen Cruz, who used to be a member of our church, she has now moved to Minnesota, and she's been looking for a church and different ones. Well, she went one time to a UU church, and everybody was just all over her, couldn't greet her enough. And then she went back the second time, and she said she felt so uncomfortable. No one came up, and she finally just left. It just felt so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So those first few minutes, and I will say that Sunny Cook also is one that's on them like a fly. She's good. And, and takes them. And what's important is that we not only talk to them then, we might take them over and say, well, I'd like you to meet Sue Stieritz or Doug Deaton or whatever, so they can have some other faces of people that they might approach or would approach them again.
That's what the ushers are trying to do, and we talked about that. But that's not a responsibility that typically has fallen with the ushers. It's been a welcoming or a membership team that's a separate team focusing on that alone. I go around and encourage the ushers to go to Todd and point out that person's new, or I go to Stephanie and say, these people came in, they have a couple of kids. I mean, that's the most we could do, but it's not adequate. But let me add, this is an interesting conversation, but we're not focusing one damn minute on the strategic plan, and we have to get ahead and figure out how to do this, a strategy for advancing the strategic plan and combining it with the SWOT. We've talked about something going out from somebody, God knows who, to the teams, asking them questions. That's a questionnaire that has to be developed. And we've talked about soliciting something from the congregation. Our generation thinks of email or phone calls. That doesn't work for the current generation. We got to figure out some other way, whether it's Facebook or some other kind of social media. So we need to get together a little brainstorming group to figure out how to advance this. And talking about greeting people in Friendship Hall is not advancing big picture.
No, but it was important to say. So
Mhm.
thank you, Sue, for saying it. Tom, at one time, you and I and Luba said we would kind of start creating a skeleton. But I don't know what Cindy was going to suggest under President's suggestions. So how about if we leave it at this tonight, that we will let Cindy know that you, I, and Luba are willing to at least start fleshing out some things. I have the form that we used in 2017 to send off to our teams. I can bring that to the table, but I would like to not do a damn thing until after Christmas.
Mhm.
Agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay?
Agree with that?
And
And if we could meet in person somehow,
Yes.
that would be
And
good.
if Cindy had any additional ideas, we can add that on to our plan. Does that sound good to everyone? Is
Yes.
there anyone else from the board that would be willing to join that skeleton crew?
Mhm.
Well, we do have to be careful about too many board members in one place because that gets us into the open meetings thing. So three is best because that's not a quorum.
Okay.
Jean has a question or addition.
Oh, Jean?
Yes, I'm thinking you need a much bigger group to work on this strategic plan.
Oh, yes.
And along those same lines, I personally feel that the minister should take a very active role in recreating many of our committees, which have not been active for a long time. Adult programming, stewardship, membership, which you've talked about a lot. Well, those are the three that are real important that I'm thinking of right now. And as you know, if the minister asks somebody to do something, they usually will say yes. And so I would urge the board to encourage Todd to take on that role. I think that should be part of his job description. That's
Thank
it.
you for the idea. So what all we're going to do, we being me, Luba, and Tom, is start a skeleton plan. But we're not going to write the
Right.
strategic plan. But we will kickstart it,
Hmm.
okay?
You forward yours.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Board budget priorities. Tom sent something out just before the board meeting, and I did not have a chance to look at it. You want to read it?
Yeah, the board is supposed to have budget priorities evolving in November and decided in December. We did decide them, three of them in January or in December of 2024 for the budgeting process that we are now in that budget now. And they were, number one was non-pledge income enhancement, which should have been, it was a budget priority of the board. And outreach to the community at large to attract others to UCS was the second board priority for supposedly for budgeting, that which suggests money. And the third one was increased funding of capital reserve fund. We could, unless others, and I have a suggestion of another one that maybe would replace but be related to the increased funding for capital reserve fund. But do we want to just rubber stamp what we did a year ago? Question. The other one that I thought might be a budget option would be to have develop options for a major capital fund expense improvement funding, which ultimately would have to be part of our strategic plan. But would we want to say that a budget priority would be to discover and identify options for a major capital expense improvement or funding? So summarizing, we had non-pledge income enhancement was one of the ones last year, outreach to the community at large to attract others to our church and increase funding of capital reserve fund. Do we just want to repeat those same ones, or do we want to add something to it or change them? And that was sent to you guys by email. I don't know whether you opened up your email or not.
The whole problem from my perspective is that despite what we might recommend, the whole problem has continued to be that we have to cut the budget to the bare bones each time.
Yeah. Well, an option would be to do nothing at all and just let the budget evolve as it have in the past, minimizing expenses and trying to maximize outside income. And we're kind of doing more this year than we've ever done before as far as advancing income.
Right. That's what Rebecca mentioned in her report, that she, together with Julianne and the operations team, they do everything possible to save on anything.
Yeah.
Doug, what are your thoughts? As far as do you think we should send in where did he go?
That's quite an answer.
Yeah.
Must have dropped his phone.
He is a birthday guy, so he went to celebrate.
Oh, okay. Luba, what are your thoughts? Do we send in our hopes and dreams? Or do we,
Now leave it as is.
no, I mean, do we send it in to Rebecca as a budget priority or just say, we know we'll do the best we can to fund what we can, or what? What are your thoughts?
The latter. I mean, we'll do what we can.
Well, and that's always what they are doing, the ops team is doing.
Yes, they're doing that.
Yeah.
I don't think they need any directions. They really work hard to save the money and encouraging and doing everything to do the fundraising and so.
So would it be safe to say that we simply recommend maximizing outside income and
Yeah,
minimizing expenses?
yeah,
Is that a reasonable summary to send to the board, as our budget priorities?
yeah,
Yep.
yes,
I think that's
reasonable.
a good one. Would you restate that so Marilyn has it?
Okay. The board's budget priorities would be to minimize expenditures and maximize outside income.
Thanks,
Mhm.
Tom.
Yeah,
And Justin, did you hear that? You're on mute though. Sorry, you're on mute.
muted.
Usually it's the lower left hand. There you are.
I got it. Yeah, I apologize. I just had a total power outage. I was sitting here listening to the meeting and the whole house went black.
Oh, so
Hmm.
Tom, would you repeat what you said?
Well, we're trying to decide what to send to the ops team as the board's budget priorities. And we kind of talked about it and decided simply to say minimize expenses and maximize outside income, which is standard operating procedure, basically.
That sound okay to you, Justin?
Yeah, I did think that a couple of members here made some very good comments about publicity, which might bring in more people. So like trying to recall them. I got rattled by the.
Well,
Power
that,
outage.
My house went black, and
Yeah.
I'm in the basement, and it was totally black.
So Justin, what
I'll leave it at that.
okay.
I'll go ahead with that right now.
Okay, because what we said is that we know that what they will do, the budget team will do is what they can, no matter what our hopes and dreams are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Doug, are you okay with that coming from? the board?
Yeah, that sounds good. Sorry, I lost my connection there for a bit. That seems like to me is to keep on muddling through and do the best we can with expenses and keep on trying to build income. Yeah.
So Dick, you also stepped out for a minute. What we have said our priorities to the board or to the finance team, to the budget team is to minimize expenses and maximize outside income. Because they only fund what they can.
Yeah,
And that's pretty much a given from what Rebecca was saying.
Yeah.
And like most years, there are a number of items which are underspent, so they can do that. So they have a little leeway on that. And as you said, there's no fat in the system now.
Right.
If any big expense comes along, that's going to require a separate fundraising drive. There's no reserves to cover anything
Right.
beyond the basics. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dick.
Well, that would be something that would go from Luba then from us to Rebecca in a fairly simply worded thing.
Jean, I did see your hand. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Since the endowment team is now at 1 million, perhaps rather than encouraging everyone when they die to give to the endowment fund, there might be more emphasis on giving to the regular church fund, not necessarily just the general fund, but to the other entities like the what do we call it?
You cannot designate money to go to a specific area.
Oh, but lots of people do it.
No.
No.
Well, it's been done in the past, and the chapel was built that way. The piano was, someone donated $10,000 so the piano could be refurbished. And it doesn't get publicized, but it happens. So I'm thinking to take a good look at the bylaws and perhaps change, since people will donate to a specific project or fund.
Yeah, well, see,
It would take a revamping of the bylaws, but it's facing reality that people are more inclined to give to a special project than to just give in general. And if
that's
special
part of how it
projects
works.
are covered, then the general fund will be able to cover what else needs to be covered. Did that make sense?
And that's actually how it works, though. If there's a special project, then a separate fund is created for that particular project. You see, and then you can contribute to that project. I think what Nancy was talking about, if you just make contributions to the general fund or to the endowment, those you can't earmark things in there, but you certainly can say, well, we need something new for the church, and I'll be willing to donate this. And if you get a project generated for that purpose, then you can donate for it.
Well, I'm looking at the bylaws because that's kind of what I do. And actually, the only thing that it says, Section 7 of Finance addresses undesignated donations. And then it tells us what to do. If they're less than 1,000 or more than 1,000, if we can identify the donor's intent, and it actually says undesignated donations in excess of $1,000 shall be retained for scrutiny as to the donor or the intent of the donor. In the event the donor or the intent cannot be determined, then the donation goes to the endowment fund. So, the bylaws, I don't know where people are getting this idea that we can't designate something, because the bylaws clearly provide that if it's undesignated, we have a way to handle it. If it's designated, the presumption is that it can be designated. So there seems to be a constant misunderstanding of what our bylaws say, because they allow for designation of certain donations. And numerous examples have been stated, and anything to the contrary is somebody needs to talk to me about what the bylaws actually say and not make things up. Period. Because it's right there.
Following up on that, in Gordon's will, it says that he will give to the church, and it will go toward any, what do we call it, capital expenditure that the church needs or is already funding.
That would be a designated gift of some kind, although it's still kind of murky what that means. Does that mean he gives it to the Capital Reserve Fund?
It could be.
Well, somebody, the executor of, if that money actually shows up at Rebecca's desk, then she's supposed to try to find out what was the intent of the donor.
Yeah.
And that boils down to whoever's the executor of Gordon's will, since Gordon's not alive to clarify. I'm being blunt, but there's only one way.
Well, so in the will, it actually says that it'll go to any current capital expenditure. Is that clear enough?
Well, but we don't have, well, I don't know. We're going to buy a refrigerator. Is that a capital expenditure?
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
then the executor of Gordon's will could say, I'll buy a refrigerator. You know, somebody needs to talk about this stuff in terms of what's written in black and white and not make things up.
Okay.
But that's something that the board agrees to, like say to buy a
No,
refrigerator or do fundraising for something.
no, the board doesn't have anything to do with buying refrigerators and fixing gas stoves. That's a,
Well,
a day-to-day operations.
if you have the money for it, right?
Well,
But
yeah,
but this could be for that designation could be for some larger capital project that does require board approval. Uh, but maybe not. Maybe it just goes in like there's this budget in the line item in the ordinary budget for you know maintenance type projects
well,
and uh, and so that's something that's but not a specific maintenance project, you see. And so presumably if there's something that goes into an existing, you item like that, it'd be okay.
well,
Mm.
it needs to be massaged, explored. A decision needs to be made because right now there's just too many rumors running around about what people think the bylaws say and for the most part don't know what they say. What else can I say?
Okay, so what you're saying is that a person could give money for any, designate money for anything they want it to be spent for in the church.
Well, you have to be in reason. There has to be some reason involved in this. If someone, there have been things in the past, we had it where the board actually had the final say, and that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Or maybe it should, but
It should on large capital expenditures.
well, there's a section about $10,000 or $20,000, whatever it is. The whole congregation has to agree to an expenditure.
Right.
That's in another part. Well, right here, the church may neither enter into a contract involving expenditures for more than 20% of the current fiscal year budget, blah, 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 without a 2/3 majority approval of the congregation. So, if we're less than 20% of what our $300,000 budget, that's $60,000.
Nancy,
Yes.
can I say something?
Yeah.
I know at one time when we were putting carpet in the chapel, I believe I bought that carpet. Do you remember that, Jean?
Yes, you did.
And I specifically went in and said that that's what I would like to do. So it's happened. Now, is it pick and choose? I don't know. Or is it one memory to another? But I know I have done that. And just, I didn't hear all of Luba's about the ops team meeting. I was attending that meeting, and we do not need a new stove, according to Rebecca. That stove works absolutely fine. It's the instructions and people being educated on how to learn it.
Yes, and that was discussed in the previous ops meeting, and that was recorded in my.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Okay. I
because
hadn't attended the previous one.
well, and because the meeting did not occur, there was just a report of Rebecca, and she mentioned that.
Okay, yeah. But we had this big dinner there recently, and the people came in and used everything just fine without anybody helping them,
Oh,
is the way
well,
she said it.
That's great.
So yeah, that's a good. We don't have to buy that.
Mhm.
Can I
Dan?
make a comment?
Yes.
Tom makes a good point that it has happened a lot in the past. We had $10,000 for the plans. There have been a number of instances. The floor was donated for the whole church, as you probably remember. So, but one thing that I think that you might want to look at if you head in that direction is that we have 1 million, but there's no reason that we can't go more than 1 million in the future. And the real problem with making money with endowments is that it takes money to make money. And we're starting to make money now where we are the largest, the endowment fund is the largest contributor to our budget. So if we get looking at that, we should have a study to see a little bit on time value of money, whether it's better used in the endowment to increase that and then be able to give more to the church, or whether we want to look more. And I agree with Tom that that may be the way we want to go, is to some of that money, like Gene said, if it's designated for a certain purpose, then we may want to go that way. But it's something we should look at both sides of that issue, see where the best possibility of making money from our money.
But the point, Dan and others, if a donor wants to do something very specific, for instance, we have a buckled floor due to water damage that came in under the double doors off the back patio. If Gordon's executress decides that is a capital expenditure they would like to get fixed, they ought to be able to do that.
Yes, agreed.
What? It's not a big issue. Shouldn't be an issue. But anyway, I've said enough. Obviously, you know how I feel about this.
So, Tom, I need to look at the bylaws again, because I would swear that at one time we passed something, the congregation passed a bylaw change that said that things like this could not be designated. So where do I look in this damn document?
Well, but Article
You're
3,
right, Nancy.
Article 3 is a whole section on finance. And the other thing would be to do word searches for keywords that you might think could do this, whether it be donations, whether it be capital projects, that's the way you do research. But Article 3 of the bylaws has got about 9 sections in it, all having to do with finance.
Thank you.
And there's another one on the finance team. It's more about what the team is composed of and how it functions, and then refers back to the finance section, Article 3. But there's nothing wrong with doing a word search just pick 8 or 10 words that relate to what you want to. And, I do a word search of the bylaws frequently, even though I know them pretty well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think Rebecca needs to be educated then, because just recently I said I wanted to buy a dozen tablecloths, and she said, well, you can't do that. Sorry, Tom.
That's been the most recent word to me about it. When I did do the rug, that was some time ago, carpet. But that's been the most recent news to me from the office, is that you can't individually pick and choose.
I buy tablecloths all the time. Good.
Well, if Jean were to submit a receipt for that, would she be?
No. I pay for them.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Oh, you just don't ask anybody.
no, I'm doing the concert that's coming on or coming up, and I went in and I bought tablecloths,
Yeah.
and I'm going to use them.
But what Gene is talking about to be, one is a project or a specific capital expenditure, and that is a little different than buying tablecloths.
Mm-hmm.
So someone needs to explore this with Rebecca. She must have some basis for saying what she's saying, and I would sure like to know what it is, because all of us can read the bylaws, and the ones that I've read over and over again say that a designated donation is simply not addressed, only undesignated donations.
I'll address it with her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
So, yeah, what you need to look at then is Article 3, Section 7, I think, is the one that discusses undesignated, and there appears to be little or no discussion about designated.
So Tom Bradabo has not joined the ops team. He was asked and declined. So that's still something, those positions are going to need to be marked as open again. Tom, did you want to say anything to that?
Sorry, but it does not gonna fit me. So.
Okay. You would have been a great asset, but We understand.
Mhm.
So that those positions still need to be filled.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're working on it. Thank you for considering it.
Yeah, I talked to Todd today and Cindy, and I never have been able to connect with Rebecca.
Okay,
There you
thank you.
go.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So not to be forgotten, treasurer income and a possible 5K grant. And that will be a part of a conversation with Rebecca when we find out why she believes that donations cannot be designated. And Tom, I know you want to speak to that.
Well, the thing that I want to go back to is it possible that Darrell would be willing to be the treasurer? Given the fact that we just heard numerous times that with our new accounting system, it's pretty much fail-safe, but we do need a designated treasurer according to state law. And one way to do that would be finding an interested party, and if Darrell were that person, then we would need to pass a simple bylaw which would appoint an ex officio trustee for the sole purpose of being a treasurer, be a non-voting trustee, but the state law says that a trustee must be the treasurer must be a trustee. And some time ago, we discussed possibility of finding such a person, appointing them as an ex officio non-voting trustee, and we would meet the state law of having a trustee as our treasurer. And we would that's kind of the way we functioned, although in the past, although it was never formalized with David Eagle and Marie Bjork, they were never appointed. They just functioned as a treasurer, and then we learned that we had to have that a trustee had to be treasurer, and that's how poor Dick ended up in this position. So, consider approach to Darrell.
Well, since I got him to join, I will give him a call and ask him if he would consider it. Would he need to be at every board meeting?
No, and that's the beauty of it making a non-voting appointed trustee. But we would have to adjust the bylaws at the annual meeting so that we had the authority to appoint a ex officio non-voting trustee as the treasurer.
So we can't do that until the annual meeting? So how would he be serving during this time?
Well, officially, I think, Dick, you're willing to serve out your term, aren't you?
Well, I could, yeah.
Yeah, and then
Just another 6 months.
yeah, then the transition would take place. We would amend the bylaws and officially appoint. But in the meantime, he could be doing those things unofficially, although the state recognizes in the Secretary of State's office recognizes Dick Burkhart as a treasurer of our board of directors or board of trustees.
I will reach out to Darrell. We don't need to discuss it any further until he either says yes or no.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to him via phone in case he doesn't come to church on Sunday. Comments from the group? Yes, Sue.
Just a couple things. One, Nancy, did I understand you to say that this speaker this Sunday will be a Zoom speaker? Okay. Also, I really encourage the board, as soon as they can, quickly, I'll say, to have an audit. I mean, right now we are hearing that QuickBooks checks this and that, and then if Rebecca checks it. Well, we've got I don't know how you say it, the cat watching the mouse or the mouse watching the cat. And so not to say that anything's going on, but it just kind of makes me go, okay, that some sort of an audit other than those two people being Lynn and Rebecca that are in charge of that, something outside of that, be it Darrell, do it and have somebody else. But that's my input.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sue.
that's sort of what Darrell's starting already and getting together with Rebecca to look at some of the, ask questions on the accounts.
You might have a discussion, Nancy, with Rebecca about possibility after you touch base with Darrell or Cindy, depending on her condition with her issues.
Mhm. Okay. I will share quite honestly, my concern is when the books were transferred from the one system to the other, things were transferred that were non-existent because they went so far back. And even Rebecca shared that concern because Lynn didn't really know what she was doing. And so I would feel very happy if they would consider an audit, especially from that time frame, to really audit that time frame.
Lynn being our bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
enough said. Any further comments from?
I think what Rebecca's saying, she would probably felt some of these older items from a decade ago or something, um, would not be auditable in any definitive sense. And just because they're so old and they didn't fit into current categories or didn't have all the right information and that kind of thing.
well, what's an example, Dick? Like a fund that we keep track of several funds that
But
that
that's just what she was saying. So maybe Dara could try and look through some of those that Rebecca was having trouble figuring out what to do with them. You see, basically.
Okay. I will have a conversation with Darrell and see what he's working on, just so we get it clear. And then with,
But for somehow Rebecca thinks she's resolved those things, but it wasn't exactly clear how she resolved them.
okay.
Hmm.
I will explore, but not until after Christmas, but I will call Darrell.
yeah.
For the good of the order?
Well, on the same subject, if there's some unresolved issues and poor Rebecca being the one to maybe make a decision that she might even be uncomfortable with, but thinking it's the best thing to do, is that something that should come to us as a board to try to take the load off of her shoulders for making decisions about some old fund or old amount of money somewhere, so that we as a board, which are more kind of more exempt from liability than an individual employee. You might talk about whether she has any discomfort areas whenever you talk with her that maybe we should take responsibility as a board.
Okay.
Well, we could ask Darrell to look at that
Mhm.
because he's going to be, that's presumably one of the things he'll be looking at.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't know what to do on those things either, you see.
I will have a conversation with Darrell, and then after the new year, I'll plan a sit down with Rebecca and maybe have Cindy come as well, so that there's two of us. So,
Yeah.
two memories are better than one, that's for damn sure.
One, yeah, that little bottom possible 5K grant referring to buildings and grounds team and a plan. The last word I got from Betty Bradabo was that the city employee and friend of hers is in the process of finalizing or drafting the outline of some kind of a plan that the buildings and grounds team hopefully would find acceptable, and then might qualify that my $5,000 that I've offered could be used in context of, in relationship to some plan. And then there was actually a suggestion of a fairly new church member who would be kind of the monitor of, is this a legitimate expenditure consistent with the plan? So something is still going on that's in the works, but just not there yet.
Hey,
Hey, Nancy, could I just ask you a question about Cindy, since I'm co-chair on pastoral care? Should we reach out to her?
you might reach out to her and find out if she needs, she has any needs as far as grocery shopping or anything like that, or if she's just being miserable. It's an ongoing medical issue for her.
She's,
Okay,
she
thank you.
did tell me she's been to the doctor 3 times in the last 10 days and she's now on hydrocortisone for pain. So she's
Oh, gosh.
a comfortable lady.
So I would say not tonight, but yeah, maybe tomorrow or something.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate
Uh-huh.
it. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, I call this meeting to adjournment.
Thank you, Nancy.
Bye. Happy birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Hello.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.